What is up, guys? Wraec is here with a new video, and today we want to talk about Tazi specifically. Yesterday there were a lot of words on the street that said, well, Tazi is disappointing, Tazi is bad, and today I'm here to prove the opposite to you and show you some areas of the game where Tazi is really good and where I'm very happy to have her. We're here in the talent stages using an LB tile, LB faction skill team with her, and let's see what Tazi will do to those enemies in a sec once she casts her first ult. So, Tazi, show us what you're worth. And yeah, so the thing was, many people said, well, her energy, that is just too slow, she just needs too long to get to her ult, and well, then it's really difficult to run her in arena. And that is true, that is true. That is something we talked about in advance, that made it a little bit difficult, where, well, she struggled a little bit to survive sometimes. Got countered by Lily May, which of course that is even more disastrous. If you have an ability that takes a long time to charge up, it is of course disastrous to have that ability countered. But now we find her in PvE, and PvE, you can see, that is a ton of damage, and that is a fairly easy clear, because she, with the LB tile team, you have about 100% CC uptime. So as long as you get to an ult, you are basically winning, and that is pretty crazy. So let's take a look at how this team is even built. So during my live stream we tried really the first version of this, and the version that I tried of this looked a little bit like this, with Lucius also of course already in there, but I used Temesia and I used Brutus, and I thought, well, Brutus would take the majority of hits, and then we have Temesia as Lucius as tanky heroes. We already talked about Lucius a little bit in a previous video. Faye is a healer, and of course a healer would be good, but Lucius, in my opinion, provides more sustain for the team than Faye, because Lucius has an ability that lets him provide allies with a shield, and this shield is actually quite powerful. So this was my first version, and this version works. We can give it a try. And the later teams, the teams that were used more in the endgame version, they used a few different mechanics, because in some situations Tazi is actually struggling to deal damage, and those situations are mostly when the enemies are far apart or deal a ton of damage immediately. Because she will always go in between the furthest away enemies. You can see she's spending quite a ton of time there, going from one place to another, and that is one of her weaknesses. That is one of the things that I want to remind you of. When you have enemies on a map that are far apart, Tazi will be worse, and that is something that applies to PvP, that applies to PvE. She does way more damage when the enemies are grouped up, giving her a bit of synergy with heroes like Iron, of course. In a situation like talent stages, well, the good thing is, once we got her ult up, we get full CC. Once we have full CC, the enemies tend to not move a lot. So even if there are two enemies, like in a situation we saw, that are far apart, it's not that much of a problem, because we kill those first, then the next enemies are closer together, and as long as you can deal enough damage within the time frame, you are good to go. So we see pretty good damage. Either way, the trick is just have 3 heroes from the Lightbearer faction and have something more. And there are a few versions of this team that we can take a look at, and that are worth checking out. You can do what I did, of course, that will work. Roan is not that important to giving her energy. It is nice if she gains energy through him, but we saw her movement. It's like she's here, where Roan, it would be Roan moves a bit forward, maybe to a position like here, and would start providing energy, and she at that point already moved like way beyond the board behind an enemy, which is part of her ability. So oftentimes her and Roan are too far apart to even help each other. But in some situations she gains energy from him, and that makes him pretty much the most valuable hero here on the board. You can run him off the LB tile if you want, it is an option. And the other heroes that are interesting, well, we would definitely want Lucius. You can replace Brutus, you can replace Temesia. So if you run it like this, you need more light barriers. You need one more light barrier hero, and there are 2 options that you can run. First one is Cassidy. Cassidy, good thing is, she groups enemies up, she provides us with some extra damage, is overall a pretty good hero for our purpose. And especially if we are during the ult, where the enemies stop moving unless they are unaffected, she's even better at grouping the enemies up. So that is pretty good. Other option, and that is a surprise for many, Walker. Walker is actually nice because we just need a bit more time to get to her ult, and he stuns enemies. So that's good. Extra CC, we like it. And then we have another slot for a hero, and there I really only saw either people going for Iron, which can work, or they go for Hewen, to just get a little bit of extra here. So something like this is also common. Keep in mind, some enemies are immune to CC. Those guys here, for example, they are immune to control effects, which makes them, of course, immune to her hypnotize as well. We can try the attack. You will see she struggles a lot more against those guys. So that is one of her weaknesses, really. The other weaknesses are overkill. Overkill is one of the major things that will get rid of her. We already talked about the trait that she goes into her state of recovery, where she's usually not targetable once she hits 50% HP or below. At the current state of the game, she can be overkilled, meaning if the hit is big enough to get her from above 50% HP to 0, she will be instantly gone. No matter if she still has the option to go into this recovery state, which she just won't, she will be instantly defeated. And that is, of course, a major problem for her, as in some game modes that's all too common. I give you an example. We tried it in Durst Trial. Durst Trial, her without any buffs, got one shot by most enemies and was completely useless, despite if she got to her ult, she would have been a major asset. So in that regard, that is also something to notice. But I have to say, most versions with just any 3 light barriers will work pretty well. You don't even need the second tile. You are actually, in my opinion, pretty fine just using 1 tile. It will work. We can give that a try if you want. Main objective here is to show you how this team works, so let's take a look. Like against something like this, we should be perfectly fine. Let's, for this example, just take Rowan off the tile. We put Tazi here, so we just use 1 tile from the Light Perfection skill, eliminating the second faction tile here, so you can go with stage 1. And let's take a look at that. We, of course, for the resonating spell, which is the best artifact for this in my opinion, gives us haste, gives us energy. Want to have Tazi as backmost hero. No heroes placed on the talent buff tile. Nice that they put something in there. We will make use of that right now. And we even have a nice positioning here to get some energy from Rowan. And now Tazi should enter a state of her ult. And now we have the Tazi ult. Brutus there will be a bit of a problem. He is CC'd, of course. But he will still get his immunity, which is a bit annoying. But back-to-back ults should take care of him. He was unaffected during the start, so this is actually a bit annoying for us. Becomes a little bit of an RNG fest now. But that should be an easy win. Yeah, easy win there. You can see it works with 1 talent tile. And that means you don't really have a huge requirement there to go deep into the faction skills. Which faction skills do you even need for this? So we can see mine is at 21. You don't need that. So like if you just have the first skill, honestly, you are already good. There are some more skills that help. Increased ultimate damage is nice. We can have more attack on the shadow, which is nice. The penetration, we don't really need that. And on the second tile, if we want to go, we have a pretty similar route. I would say the energy recovery is pretty cool. The 100 energy can help just get to her ult quicker, but I mean, we don't really need it. Second talent buff tile, we just saw it. It's nice to put Rowan on there, but not needed. And the ultimate damage here would again be nice, but also not needed. So really, what you need is this. Pretty much this. Everything else just adds on top of that. But in terms of mechanical requirement, not more than that is needed. So we are looking, and that is also part of the reason why I like Tazi. We are looking at super low requirements to make a team for AFK stages that is very, very, very strong. Basically, any 3 Lightbearer heroes, some are preferred, but any 3 Lightbearer heroes, the faction skill unlocked, Tazi at, okay, we need the high Tazi level. Well, that is a bit difficult, but we need a high Tazi level. We'll talk about that. And any other hero. And then you have a good team. And if you want to go into deeper stages, let's take a look at the clear. We have something like this. This is season talent stage 640, so a bit further than I was. And it's Lucius, it's Cassidy, it's Hewen, it's Rowan, and it's Tazi there. Tazi doing 13 billion damage, so absolutely insane. And this works. This works. So you can see this works also on high-end stages with higher deficit. And so it is great also for the double stages, because you don't have high requirements. You can build your best first team, and your second team is basically Tazi plus 3 and any 3 light bearer heroes plus a 4th hero of any faction. And some heroes, of course, are better, but mechanically we don't need it. So, that being said, what are the requirements to Tazi? So, to Tazi, we, for real PvP gameplay and for max damage, we kind of have a little bit high requirements. The thing is, you get a good amount of damage of stats from just the first 3 abilities, so from a single copy, that is nice. Extra attack doesn't really matter, but we take it as 15% attack overall. This one is nice. It's Mythic Plus. It's a 130 haste buff after casting Eternal Dreamscape, so a massive, massive haste buff. We'll see in a second why we need that. Damage reduction is good, but we need this haste buff, and this haste buff is really important because we get unlimited casts of Dream Dance. Usually Dream Dance consumes 10% of HP, but it doesn't. So it does no longer cost any of Tazi's HP and has no cooldown, says here. And this is really a very nice ability that deals a ton of damage. And this is also the ability that flies her between the furthest away enemies, back and forth. And of course, the faster she is, the faster she can attack, the better. So the higher the haste buff, the better it is. You can run with the base version. +5, I would say, is the absolute minimum. That's moderate haste. But you will notice there's a difference if you go to +15. So having +15 on her is really, really nice. Even though it is not like a mechanical difference, it's just a nice damage buff. The Supreme Plus on her is really, really good. Supreme Plus, meaning she gets an extra attempt to Fluttering Dream. That is really what keeps her alive. That is this recovery mode that we saw, where she transforms into a butterfly. Once she hits 50% HP, becomes invincible, starts recovering HP and even energy. And a lot of times she will recover her energy mostly in this state. She can only enter this 2 times, but you can enhance it with this, and this can be really, really helpful. Even in a situation that we just saw against the Brutus, you can even get to 50% HP or below on a later stage in the battle. So having more of those Fluttering Dream attempts or Fluttering Dream tokens, or should we say it, is really, really good. I would recommend, and this is probably a little bit annoying for many people, I would recommend Supreme Plus +15 Tazi. And personally, I will upgrade mine to +20, and I have her on Paragon, so I would recommend that. You can run her Mythic, it is possible, Mythic Plus, but it will be weaker, and I really like that she gets those extra attempts. It really helps her. What's the absolute endgame of this strategy? Absolute endgame of this strategy will be reached once we go into the Mythic Charms. Mythic Charms will be crazy for her. We have multiple options to go with this. The first option would be this. This is an ultimate power charm. The charms in the season work in the way that you equip a set of 3 charms. Every single charms will just give you the base stats. If you have 3 charms of the same set, you will get this effect. So this is the Blast series. It grants attack and ultimate power, and you can see it's a massive 21% attack buff, and we get 5 ultimate power. Ultimate power on Tazi works in a very nice way because it adds to the time that we send the enemies to sleep. And 5 ultimate powers means we get an extra 2.5 seconds. Also, we get extra damage there. And this means we get 6 seconds sleep. Absolutely insane. Considering we have nearly 100% uptime on the LB tile, there is the option to go for other charms too. So, like, you don't really need to go for ultimate power if you have LB charm. You can also go for something else. You can go for skill power, of course. Attack haste is fine as well if you want an extra 24 haste. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because the haste buff's already that big. But on that, you could even go for something else and upgrade the damage further. Granted, I think this is one of the best teams that we've seen yet. In that consideration, I would say she's worth a summon. I don't like her in Arena. You can see many Arena fights in my live stream if you want to check it out. It's on the main channel. You go to the live streams, you can check it out there. I don't like her there. I don't like her there. It's just like she's so slow. I don't think she will get a place. In Supreme Arena, people made her work. There are faction skills there. You can make her unaffected for a bit. You have some more ways to get energy to her. There she works. In Dream Realm, she was worthless. Maybe against the Plague Bearer boss or something, a Plague Creeper, she would have been nice. Can't test it right now. but in general, her main purpose, talent stages for AFK. She works for normal AFK stages as well. I don't know if we have a nice way to show that here. I used her with Ulmus. We can try to clear this for a second. Works. The enemies are grouped up there. Oftentimes even gets the feed from Rowan if she's close there. But we are a little bit underleveled here, so we probably get the clear already like this. We saw many attempts where she soloed the remaining enemies, and like we have the same situation here. You can see how effective she still is there. So it's not like she will be worthless once we leave the season and no longer have the talent tiles. She will still be a very good hero. So summoning recommendation for me. Summoning recommendation for me. If you want to see more detail, want to know a little bit more about her, go to my live stream. Other than that, please leave a subscription to the channel. It would make me very happy. And with that, I wish you a great day. See us in the next one.